Today on Sugar Spun Run, I'll be showing you how to make Marry Me cookies. Hey Sugar Spun Bakers, Sam here, and today I am so excited to be sharing another carefully tested, well-researched, and perfected recipe. If you follow me on Instagram, you have already seen this one. It is my husband's favorite cookie recipe. It is loaded with salted caramel, finely chopped chocolate, and lots of bacon. Let's go ahead and get started. Today's cookie recipe starts with a brown butter base, so you're going to need to brown 2 sticks of butter. You might recall I do have a tutorial video on exactly how to brown butter. Just to jog your memory, you just cook that butter over medium heat until the milk solids begin to brown. It's really important that you let that brown butter cool until it's no longer warm to the touch. Otherwise, you're going to melt your sugars and you're going to have a greasy mess. While that butter is cooling, go ahead and preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. This brown butter has been sitting for a while. It's no longer warm to the touch. You can see those beautiful brown bits in there. That is what's going to add so much flavor. So since this is nice and cool, I'm going to go ahead and start adding my other ingredients. We'll be adding 1 cup of firmly packed light brown sugar and 2/3 cup of granulated sugar. We'll stir everything together until that's nicely combined. And right about now, you should really be able to smell that glorious brown butter. We'll also add 2 large eggs. Now ideally these should be at room temperature, and I'm just going to lightly beat these before I add them into my batter. And 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. All right, we'll stir this together until it's completely combined, and then we'll set this aside, and you're going to need a separate bowl for your flour and your dry ingredients. We're starting with 2 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour and adding a teaspoon each of cornstarch, which is going to help keep the cookies from spreading too much and make them nice and chewy, and baking powder, and baking soda. I'm also adding 3/4 teaspoon of salt. We'll whisk those dry ingredients together so they are nicely combined. And we'll gradually add these to the wet ingredients. Now, I do want to emphasize the word gradually. This dough gets to be pretty stiff and pretty crumbly, so you want to add that flour slowly. I'm going to be adding it in 4 parts, and after each addition, I'm going to stir really well until all of the flour is absorbed before I add any more, or almost all of the flour. Now this is important because it allows the dough to absorb that flour gradually. If you add too much of the flour at once, it's going to become really crumbly and it's going to be really difficult to work it together. So I think you can even tell, hopefully on camera, that this dough isn't like many of my cookie doughs. It's not very sticky. It is a little bit crumbly. That's totally normal and totally by design, so don't freak out, just keep stirring. All right, this batter is looking just as it should, so I'm going to set this aside and now I'm going to prepare the add-ins. You'll need 2/3 cup of caramel bits for this recipe, or if you can't find caramel bits, you can just buy regular caramel candies and cut each of them into 6 pieces. And that is what I'm doing today. Yes, it is a lot of work, but these cookies are a labor of love. These are my Valentine's Day gift to Zach, except I'm going to eat most of them. Now, possibly the most exciting ingredient in these cookies is the bacon. You're going to need about 4 or 5 strips of nice crispy bacon, and you could just crumble it by hand, but I'm just going to chop this bacon into small pieces. Once all is said and done, you'll have about a 1/2 cup of chopped bacon. Now, I really recommend that you don't use store-bought bacon bits, like the kind that you can get in a little jar, because those are just a little bit too chewy, the texture's not quite right, they just don't work the same in this recipe. Again, this is a labor of love. Take the time to cook that bacon. Finally, I'm going to be adding 4 ounces of finely chopped chocolate. And to cut this, I'm just using the same knife I used for the bacon because it's all going together anyway. And I just kind of mince this like I'd be mincing garlic. Get it nice and finely chopped. All right, we'll add all of these into our cookie dough. And it's going to be a little bit of an arm workout getting that all worked into the dough because it is a stiff dough, but you can do it. Just put a little muscle into it. There is no chilling needed with this recipe, so make sure you grab your cookie scoop. Your oven should be preheated to 375 degrees by now. So let's go ahead and scoop. I use a heaping 1.5 tablespoons, so in the end I have about 2 tablespoons of cookie dough. And I like to form this into a ball. I'm kind of rolling it between my palms, kind of just shaping it. And I'm gonna place this on a parchment paper lined baking sheet. The caramel is prone to melting out of the cookies, so it's nice to tuck it into the cookie as much as you can and not have any out on the edge, otherwise that's going to melt. It's also really nice to have parchment paper on your baking sheet because it makes cleanup so much easier. These are off to the oven for about 9 to 10 minutes or until they're beginning to turn a nice golden brown. All right, now while the cookies are warm, if any of them got a little bit misshapen, you can use one of my favorite tricks and use the back of a spoon just to kind of round them a little bit. And while they're warm, I'm also going to sprinkle some of my favorite coarse sea salt. And that is how you make my husband's new favorite cookie. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's recipe. If you're making this for someone special in your life, let me know who it is. I always love hearing from you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Zach's not getting that many of these.